Sang the national anthem is a cousin of Winnipeg's very well-known broadcaster, Cactus Jack Wells. He did a good job, as Jack has done all of his career.
Good voices running the family, I guess.
Say, the Western Division standings, you see how important this game is to the Blue Bombers. They've got to win to stay within 2 points as Sean Keogh takes the kickoff at his 5-yard line. And Keogh runs right into the arms of Al Washington as he crosses the 15. So unlike last week when the Blue Bombers started virtually every first half possession with excellent field position, they're going to start in a hole this time around.
Oh, what you like to do on your opening kickoff is really have those special teams come down hard, knock some people around, and Al Washington did a great job.
Tommy Clements has completed 58% of his passes this season. He's had a lot of interceptions, though, 13 and only 8 touchdown passes, which to me is amazing.
Well, 13 interceptions is nothing new for Tommy. He's always going to put that ball up, and interceptions has never bothered him. Nice receiving core to work with. James Hood, the Carling offensive star of the game last week, had a super one.
He'll have a lot of interceptions, but he should have more touchdowns than intercepted passes. This pass was very nearly picked off. It was intended for Sean Keogh, but the Rough Riders, Gary Lewis, got his hand up in the air and deflected it.
Well, Gary Lewis, the newcomer in the lineup, stuck those big meat hooks up and was able to knock that ball away, intended for Sean Keogh. And if the first couple of plays for the Riders are any indication, they've certainly got their game plan ready. And here's the offensive line of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They always do a good job protecting the quarterback.
They've only had 19 sacks all season against their quarterbacks. Gary Lewis is 61 playing defensive tackle, and Lloyd Lewis is 63 playing defensive end. The pass is jarred loose on a good hit. They're going to rule it an incompleted pass. The hit was made by Chris Ziegler, who plays that middle safety for the Ottawa Rough Riders, and he just jarred the ball loose.
Well, I like Tom Towns' comments in our opening. He said, we were humiliated, and it won't happen again today. So far, the Ottawa defense in the first series played very well. Chris Ziegler come up with a big hit, knocked that ball loose, and Bob Cameron's going to have to come in and punt it away, and Ottawa should start their initial possession in good field position.
Well, we're just underway, and as Leaf pointed out, the fact that Winnipeg had to start inside their 20-yard line didn't give Tom Clements very much room to operate, but Ottawa's defense really came up tough, and that's going to be the story of this football game if they're going to have any success at all. Eric Zeno on the run took the punt all the way for a touchdown last game in Winnipeg. This time he's dropped as he gets to the 44-yard line by Frank Robinson, who was so outstanding in the Blue Bombers' performance in Regina last Sunday.
I'll tell you what I like about Derek Zeno is he didn't let that ball drop. I hate to see you lose yards on those punts by letting it just roll around. He rushed up, made a good catch, and now Ottawa's in great position.
Well, it's only a 29-yard boot as you see the way the Ottawa offense will line up. The newcomer is Steve Hall from Guelph University. He is in there playing in the slot. Pass right over the middle is complete for a first down inside the 30-yard line to Mike Catterbone. And Catterbone really has been one of the big wheels in this Ottawa offense. Brought down by Roy Bennett, 23, and Ken Haley, 24, but it was a good throw and a good catch. And that was the backside blocking I was talking about. If you notice, there was no pressure from the backside on JC on that occasion.
That was a good call, too. Set all the motion to the wide side of the field. So you know you get one-on-one on the backside. Good save, quick post pattern, and that's the kind of pass pattern you have to get something, you can get something established with early.
Number 68 is the right offensive guard for the Rough Riders, Nick Benjamin. And you talk to the CFL coaches, they think he is going to be just an outstanding offensive lineman in the CFL for many years to come. There's a look at the defensive line. Boy, did they play tough and well in Regina last weekend.
Yeah, they sure did. Good front three, as you see there. The linebackers equally as good. Frank Robinson had himself some kind of game last week. He was chosen the PWA Star of the Week. Tyrone Jones, always tough at rushing the passer, and very competent secondary. David Shaw, the veteran from Prairie View A&M, and Scott Flagel in the middle has really turned out to be a bona fide star in the CFL at that safety position. Crunching tackler, and he makes the big plays back there.
Ken Haley, you see him leaving the field of play, has been replaced by Jerome Erdman. It'll be interesting to see if Ottawa will go to an inside receiver. Well, I notice now they put Erdman at safety, and now they switch back, and Flagel goes to the safety position. Pass it out here to Derek Zeno, and Zeno is very close to the 21-yard line. He'll have a pickup of 8.5. Wiley Turner, 28, was there to bring him down.
Yeah, that's one thing I question with the way Ottawa, or rather Winnipeg, uses their lineup. They've got Jerome Erdman as a backup defensive back and also a starting slot back. He had to come up really and make the play there. He got cut off and could not get up, and therefore Ottawa got some good yardage on first down.
You'll notice, Pat, that Haley just took the one play out. He's back in the lineup again.
Thank you, Bill. It is second down, 1.5 yards to go for the Rough Riders. The toss is to Lester Brown, and Lester gets to the 20-yard line before he's upended by Frank Robinson, 37, and it looks like he's going to be about a foot short of the first down. As a matter of fact, they spotted on the Ottawa side of Winnipeg's 20, so make it a half yard to go for the first down, and the Rough Riders are going to gamble. Big play early in the ball game. Ottawa looking to keep this drive alive. J.C. Watts keeps it himself. He has the first down. And to the delight of about 23,000 fans here at Lansdowne Park on this hot, muggy afternoon, the Rough Riders are in a position to grab the lead early in the first quarter.
That was a good offensive surge by number 56, the center, Bob Stephen, to allow J.C. Watts to pick up that first down.
J.C. Watts was replaced last week by Bernard Quarles, but in the mind of Joe Moss, he's still number one, although he will not hesitate to get the hook out if J.C. doesn't keep this club moving. Raymond Aldridge with the catch. He's down to the 10-yard line. They'll spot him inside, and he'll pick up, well, about 9.5 yards. Tyrone Jones, 35. David Shaw, 36, there to bring him down.
Well, that's a great call on first down. If David Shaw is not going to come up and challenge the receiver, J.C. Watts has to take that easy yardage, and Wayman Aldridge turned that into a nice 9-yard gain. J.C. Watts is 3 for 3 in passing for 32 yards on this first Ottawa drive, and he steps inside, keeps it himself, has a first down, and Ottawa will be first and touchdown to go from the Winnipeg 7-yard line. Blue Bomber fans, of course, won't get all wrecked about this because Ottawa scored the first touchdown in the game in Winnipeg. Well, that's true, but they put together a pretty nice drive after that short punt by Bob Cameron. J.C. Watts, nice play selection, nothing too fancy, just straightforward, easy passes to complete and let the receivers do it. This is where Ottawa's had problems, though, getting the ball into the end zone. J.C. Watts' pass is caught. Hall, the newcomer in that lineup, number 18, Steve Hall, is tackled by Ken Haley, but he's inside the 5 at about the 2.5-yard line. I was having a look at Steve Hall in the warm-up. He's nice, 6'1", 195-pounder. That's a good target, and he goes down low and makes a nice catch. Reminded me a lot of the fellow sitting on my left, Leif Pedersen. Really did, Leif. When I looked out on the field, the kid reminded me of Well, I'm glad to see you caught the ball.
Yeah, right. Second down from just inside the 3-yard line. And the pass is caught by Zeno, but he does not get in. Good play by Scott Flagel to make sure that the Ottawa receiver is stopped at the 1-yard line. Now what do? They're bringing the Hogs in. They're going to go for it on 3rd and a yard to go. Yeah, I like Joe Boss's style here, but boy, did Scott Flagel ever make a nice play. He had to come a long way to pick up Derek Zeno, and that's the kind of tackle you have to make on the goal line to keep him from going in. Flagel's a good size, too, to be playing that safety spot. He's 6'2", 190 pounds. He was going against Derek Zeno, just a little guy at 5'9" and 175, and that was a big difference there. That's a big test for the Ottawa offensive line. See if they can move him out. The give is to Lester Brown. Touchdown, Ottawa. Well, that's a great start by the Rough Riders because, first of all, their special teams contained Winnipeg inside their 20. Then their defense shut down Winnipeg in their first 2 offensive plays. Then their offense took over and moved the 45 or 47 yards they had to go for the touchdown. Well, if you sat down before the game and Joe Moss said to the team, this is what I'd like to do, this is exactly what happened. A very meticulous drive culminating in that nice 1-yard touchdown run. The point after by Dean Dorsey is good. The Ottawa Rough Riders have gone in front 7-0. We'll take a look at that touchdown one more time. Well, Nick Benjamin and Roger Catlin on that right side just do a great job. As a member of the Ottawa Rough Riders, and he culminated that fine 43-yard drive that took Ottawa 8 plays to get it into the end zone. And Dorsey's kickoff is taken a yard in the end zone by Glenn Steele. This kid can really return kickoffs. Not this time, because again, that cover team of the Ottawa Rough Riders pins Winnipeg inside their 20-yard line. Kevin Gray, a newcomer to that Ottawa team, number 35, was first downfield to make the tackle. Gray in the lineup this afternoon, replacing JoJo Heath on the corner. The defensive line, you saw the newcomer, Gary Lewis. He is not Lloyd Lewis's brother, but they make up half of that front four for Ottawa.
Kevin Gray, the newcomer, originally an 8th-round draft choice of the New Orleans Saints in 1982, kicked around for a few games, played in the USFL, and of course has shown enough this week in practice that Joe Moss is starting him in this game.
First down Winnipeg from their 17. This is Willard Reeves. The ball comes loose. The Rough Riders have it at the Winnipeg 21-yard line. The recovery is made by Lamont Meacham as Willard Reeves coughs up the football just outside the Winnipeg 20.
Well, Willard Reeves had a huge hole to run through, and as he's being tackled, that ball squirts loose. Number 33, Lamont Meacham's Johnny on the spot makes a recovery, and what a break early for the Ottawa Rough Riders as they already lead 7-0.
Tell you why you've got to be impressed with Ottawa, though, Leaf. They're playing very well defensively, and then that long drive really shows that they are ready for this ball game. This is JC, and he's inside the 15-yard line to about the 13. He'll have a pickup of, well, let's say 7 yards because they'll spot it now at the 14-yard line. Coming into this ball game, J.C. Watts had completed 51% of his passes. 9 were intercepted. 9 went for touchdowns.
And this is what he's going to have to do when the receivers are going to be covered today. And yes, they will be covered because that secondary is good, but he picked up some good yardage there on first down.
Picked up 7 yards. It is 2nd and 3. Ottawa at the Winnipeg 14. Here come the Bombers. Very quickly he releases it to Hall, and Hall stretches himself close to the 11-yard line. Ken Haley had him by the ankles and would not let go, but Ottawa is very close to another first down.
Well, at 6'1", he's probably got 34-inch sleeve length, and I think he needed all of that to stretch over Ken Haley, and I believe he has picked up the first down.
Let me tell you, gentlemen, one of the fellows that everybody in this park is rooting for, and you hear the cheers for first down for the Ottawa Rough Riders, is quarterback J.C. Watt. He has not been able to get them rolling, but he's respected by the coaching staff, his teammates, and a real favorite of the fans because he is just such a nice person.
Well, he's completed 6 of his 6 passes so far this afternoon and has Ottawa with a first down at the Winnipeg 11. J.C. floats it into the end zone. Oh, and the ball just came loose from Mike Catterbone.
Boy, that was a great throw by J.C. Watts, though. The coverage applied by number 23, Roy Bennett, but the ball couldn't have been put in a better spot, and Mike Catterbone almost made the spectacular touchdown reception here. Here's a good look at it. Nice stretch, but as he hit the ground, just couldn't hang on.
He was looking for his 6th touchdown pass of the year.
Well, I love that play on the goal line because the defensive back just has no idea where the ball is. And they almost put it together.
27 is Mike Catterbone. 26 is Derek Zeno, 2 of the most exciting newcomers to the CFL this year. J.C. Watts fights his way to about the 4-yard line. But now I suspect we'll see Dean Dorsey in the field goal unit as Scott Flagel and Ken Haley made the stop for Winnipeg.
Wow, give Winnipeg secondary some great applause there because they really did a good job covering receivers when J.C. was scrambling around. That's a difficult job to do, but Winnipeg's defense has come up big here, and they'll force Dean Dorsey into the ballgame.
We've got 6 minutes and 59 seconds left to play in the opening quarter. If you've just joined us, Ottawa leads at 7-0, and Dean Dorsey is going to try an 11-yard field goal that could put Ottawa up by 10. The flag is down. Dorsey's kick is good, but there was a penalty marker on the field. This is an all-important one because if it's against Winnipeg, it would give Ottawa a first down at the 2-yard line. It's a procedure penalty against the Rough Riders. Winnipeg will make them kick that field goal over. So an opportunity now for maybe the Bombers to block this field goal. It'll come from the 16-yard line this time.
What happens in those situations down so close to the goal line, they line up in the field goal. They put a little more alignment to the wide side of the field. Sometimes you don't have an end there.
Procedure, Ottawa, no end. Third down repeated.
Very good call, Leaf.
Well, I mean, I used to be the holder, so I know we call it guards over right in this case because you're so close to the goal line. You want to put a little more blocking to the middle of the field, and you just forget to put an end out there.
So the field goal try will come from the 16-yard line. Boy, everything has gone Ottawa's way so far in this ball game. Dorsey puts it up and through once again. So it's 6 minutes.
As I've ever seen him on that run by J.C. Watts, because he was convinced that there was a clipping call right in front of the official, and they didn't throw a flag on it. He almost went racing out on the field and did a Joe Moss.
Well, Cal can get pretty excited, all right. He's been a wonderful head coach, however, and let's give him his due. This club, if you had to bet right at this moment who was going to win the Grey Cup, you'd have to put your money on Winnipeg. But they've got their hands full this afternoon as Clements finds Poplawski in Ottawa territory, and he's finally brought down at the 46-yard line by Chris Ziegler. But boy, Winnipeg can hit you in a hurry.
It looked as though Tommy wanted to throw early, and the defensive back, Ralph Dixon, number 22, came up on the play. Poplawski just went right by him, and that's an easy catch. And boy, it gets Winnipeg out of from their own 35-yard line out into Ottawa territory, and they finally got something together.
Winnipeg with a first down at the Ottawa 46. Willard Reeves inside, and Reeves gets to about the 42 before he's wrapped up by Michel Bourgeot, a young Canadian fellow from Ottawa that Cal Murphy says can play on any team in the CFL. This is a youngster who went to Boise State, and he was hurt most of last season, but he is certainly playing well for Ottawa at the defensive tackle spot.
Yeah, he had some knee problems last year and never really felt comfortable with the knee, and of course in the offseason he's now rehabilitated, and they say he's playing as good as ever.
So it's second down, about 5.5 to go, and Clements fires. It is complete to Jerome Erdman, who's wrapped up at the 35-yard line, but he has the first down. Ralph Dixon made the tackle. Erdman made the catch, hung on, and then now is a little slow getting up.
Yeah, he took a pretty good shot from number 22, Ralph Dixon, on that play, and he's going to stay down the field.
Tell me, Leaf, in the days when you played football, did you get nervous? The reason I'm asking is Tom Towns was telling me. He said he gets so nervous before a game. He says, I can hardly talk. He said, I just can't do anything. I'm all fumble fingers till I get out of the game.
And listen to this shocker. Ottawa leads the ball game 10-0. Willard Reeves. Reeves pops up the football again, and the Rough Riders get it back. The second fumble of this first quarter by Willard Reeves. It's a very hot, muggy day, and I don't know whether or not that has anything to do with it, but Chris Ziegler came up with the fumble recovery for Ottawa. So the Rough Riders getting every break, playing well defensively, moving the ball when they've had the opportunities, take over at their 24-yard line. We were chatting with Cal Murphy yesterday. I said, Cal, let's be honest, that wasn't a 43-point win by you guys so much as Ottawa did a lot of things wrong in that game in Winnipeg. He said, no doubt about that. Rough Riders get the ball out to the 30-yard line on the catch by Mike Catterbone, who was hit immediately by Roy Bennett.
Well, let's go back and have a look at that Willard Reeves fumble. He makes a great cut here to get away from Michel Bourgeot. But then as he's going down, you see the ball strip loose. I can't quite see who did it, but nevertheless, number 38, Chris Ziegler, came up with the fumble recovery. And once again, the Ottawa defense came up big.
Ottawa with a second down, 4 yards to go situation. Watts throws. The catch is made by Catterbone once again. He'll give Ottawa a first down out at their 38-yard line. Roy Bennett forced him out of bounds.
Well, you know, Pat, you and I talked about how to get away from that big pass rush early, and we suggested at the top of the show maybe to run with the football, but this is equally as good. If you're going to throw the quick post, the quick outs, and the hitch patterns, that's just like running the football because the lineman cannot get the penetration and get to the quarterback.
Catterbone has 3 catches already with 3 minutes and 20 seconds left to play in this opening quarter. Ottawa has the first down at their 38. The toss goes to Lester Brown. And Lester has no place to go because he's swarmed under back at the Ottawa 35-yard line.
Well, Cal Murphy was very complimentary about some of the Ottawa Rough Rider players yesterday, and Lester Brown was one of them. He said, you know, the kid has played well for everybody he's been with. You know, it's one of those stories. The guy travels around a lot of different teams, but always seems to get the job done.
I was talking to Willard Reeves on the bench. I said, Willard, I said, what's happening out there? He said, well, that ball is just soaking wet. He said, it is really tough to hang on to it. So one of the great running backs in this game having his problems hanging on to the ball this afternoon.
J.C. Watts was cranked. They will rule that it was a fumble, and Winnipeg will have possession at the Ottawa 2-yard line. The fumble recovery made by Tony Norman, and Norman gives Winnipeg possession at the Ottawa 2-yard line.
Let's have a look. I believe it's number 35, Tyrone Jones. Yes, it is, that gets to him first. The fumble comes loose. Tony Norman. Ottawa does in this case with the great hit by Tyrone Jones, and after the recovery by Tony Norman, they're at the 3-yard line of the Ottawa Rough Riders in great position to get back in this ballgame.
They spotted right at the Ottawa 3, so it is 1st and goal to go. Winnipeg from that point. The give is to Reeves. He does not get in. The hit was made by Ricky Barton. No, you said it off the top of the show. If Ottawa's going to have a chance to beat these guys, they have to play error-free football.
Well, you want to make teams work for the touchdowns. You don't want to give them freebies now. Winnipeg, of course, is not in the end zone, but you don't like to give them opportunities like this.
They're at the Ottawa 2-yard line on 2nd down. Clemens keeps it himself and does not get in.
Boy, that is some play by the defense. Really, I think it was number 38, Chris Ziegler, that was not fooled on that bootleg, but watch this, the fake, and sometimes the quarterback doesn't even tell the player he's going to do this, and he just keeps the ball there. He is Ricky Barton, 38 Ziegler, and 75 Rick Sovieta just do a fabulous job.
Well, it's 3rd and a yard to go. It may sound ridiculous to say that this ball game could be decided right now because we're only in the first quarter of play, but Winnipeg is on the Ottawa 1-yard line on 3rd down. They play in this first quarter. Willard Reeves, touchdown Winnipeg. They stopped him initially, but the second effort of Willard Reeves carried him into the end zone. Chris Ziegler made the hit right at the goal line, but Reeves would not quit until he got in there for the major score.
Oh, he just did a job of running this football. He was hit. Chris Ziegler, 38, had him, but the power of Willard Reeves gets him into the end zone.
And gets Winnipeg back in this football game. The point after by Trevor Kennard is good. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers with the big hit by Ty Jones, and then the fumble recovery by Tony Norman, and a touchdown run by Willard Reeves come right back.
Well, you know, they didn't have to go a long way for that touchdown, but the good teams do take advantage of those turnovers and opportunities. And although it was only 3 yards on that scoring drive, nevertheless, the Bombers have got themselves back into this ball game.
And Ottawa will have their first opportunity to return a kickoff. They do that very well. Derek Zeno is 2nd in the league behind Darnell Clash, and he's joined back there by Mike Catterbone as head coach Joe Moss talks things over with J.C. Watts on the sidelines.
You know, everybody in Ottawa has really been trying to get on J.C. this year, saying, well, he hasn't done this or he hasn't done that, but really have to respect Joe Moss the way he's defended his quarterback, and I think a head coach should. I mean, he's chosen J.C. Watts as his starter, and you've got to stand behind him, and hopefully J.C.'s going to iron things out, because I personally don't think he's really had that good a year so far.
Well, he hasn't, Leaf, but the thing about Joe, he says he's got heart and he's tough, although he doesn't try to kid you that he's played well.
Ball bounces to Derek Zeno at his 10-yard line. And again, those special teams of both these clubs doing a big job. Pat Cantner was first down. Pat, who will give you everything that he has in whatever role that Coach Murphy puts him in there, whether it be a running back or on this occasion special teams, hustling all the way, was there to make the tackle at the 20-yard line.
Tommy Clements, who got shaken up in that last play, was just throwing the ball back and forth because he got his shoulder hit a bit, and he wanted to make sure that his throwing arm was fine. He's gone to Cal Murphy and said he's all right, so he'll be going in the next sequence offensively for Winnipeg.
Thank you, Bill. The pass is complete to Hall, and Hall does a good job to get it out very close to the 30-yard line. Ken Haley, number 24, and Scott Flagel, 14, were there to bring him down.
We're almost finished the first quarter, but I really like the game plan that Ottawa's come in with today. The short passes, and they're picking up good positive yardage on first down, 9 in that case, and really that makes it so much easier for J.C. Watts on second down when it's not second and long against a tough defense like Winnipeg.
J.C. has completed 9 of 10 passes so far in this quarter. The toss goes to Lester Brown, and Brown doesn't get to the first down marker. And Ottawa will be forced to punt. That's something I've never understood, really. When it's third and less than a yard, and then you toss the ball back, and instead of making it a yard to go for the first down, now the guy has to run 3 or 4 yards. So they actually lose a yard on that play, make it 3rd and 2. And Ken Clark will be in to punt for the first time this afternoon.
You don't blame J.C. Watts on that, though, Pat. You blame the bench because the calls are coming from that spot.
Yep. Clark stands inside his 15-yard line and gets a towering punt away. Steele is all the way back to his 20. And he's wrapped up as he crosses the 30 to about the 32-yard line. On the final play of the first quarter, possession, first down at their own 33-yard line. They trail by 3 points. Clemens to a wide open Sean Keogh, and Keogh fights his way very close to the first down marker. Rick Sovieta was there to make the tackle. Ricky Barden was upset at something.
Well, he was upset because he didn't think Kehoe caught the football.
Well, there's a look at our first quarter Chevrolet statistical story. 64 total yards for Ottawa, 58 for Winnipeg, and 6-4 Ottawa leads in first downs. They lead on the scoreboard as well, 10-7.
Well, the big story you see at the bottom there, turnovers. 2 given up by the Bombers, 1 by the Ottawa Rough Riders, and all turnovers led to points.
And in case the people are just tuning in, one of the reasons for the turnovers is extremely muggy conditions. As we said earlier, some of the players are saying that that ball is just like a greased pig, as a matter of fact. It is soaking wet when they go to put their hands on it. That's what Reeves said. So it's the type of ball that is probably going to continue slipping out of the grasp of players throughout this game.
Winnipeg has a first down at their 43-yard line. The give is to Sean Keogh, but Greg Marshall was there to wrap him up. Initially, Michel Bourgeau got in. He spun out of Bourgeau's hands right into the arms of Greg Marshall.
Well, Bourgeau's a nice size, isn't he? 6'5", 275, and he really gets a good penetration early and slips the block. Chris Walby, number 63, and no chance for that play to develop.
Matter of fact, there was probably a loss of a half yard on the play, so it's 2nd and 10+ yards to go. Ottawa jumped offside. Greg Marshall, 66. Clemens has a free one, and he takes advantage of it with the completion to Jeff Boyd into Ottawa territory at the 38-yard line. Tackle was made by Ricky Barden, number 25, along with Kevin Gray, number 35.
That's a nice throw by Tom Clements. No problem with his shoulder, and a good pattern by Jeff Boyd to the out. And 29 yards later,
First down.
Winnipeg's on the move.
As a matter of fact, they are in Ottawa territory at the 38.5-yard line.
66.
You can play well against Winnipeg, play well against them, and all of a sudden they'll hit you for a big play, and all the momentum then shifts to them.
They got those smooth wide receivers, number 80, James Hood, and number 70, Jeff Boyd. They can do it.
This is Sean Keogh, and Keogh is wrapped up at the 36-yard line by Michel Bourgeau.
Oh, once again, another good play by Michel Bourgeau. The guard, Lyle Bauer, pulled, and he just followed him down the line of scrimmage and made the hit on Sean Kehoe.
Michel Bourgeau from the same school that produced Montreal's Doug Scott. And if Michel can have the career that Doug Scott of Montreal is having, Ottawa will be delighted.
Yeah, Dougie's playing well this year, so's that whole Montreal defense, although they didn't have that great a day in Hamilton last weekend.
Pass is complete to Jerome Erdman, and Erdman is down to the 9.5-yard line of the Rough Riders. Good catch and run by Jerome Erdman. 27 yards the pickup.
Tommy read that perfectly, so did Jerome Erdman. Ricky Barden was coming on the safety blitz. That means 38 Chris Ziegler has to come all the way from the middle safety spot to cover him. It's a real mismatch, and give Winnipeg credit. They read it and hit it.
And Ziegler missed the tackle on Erdman, which allowed him to scamper down the sidelines to the Ottawa 9.5-yard line.
There's no replacement for experience at that quarterbacking spot.
Clemens' pass is complete. Joe Poplawski coughs up the football. The Rough Riders recover it. And they rule that Ralph Dixon was down at the, well, let's see where they're going to spot it. Ottawa has possession of the football.
Well, let's have a look as Joe Poplawski turns it upfield. Number 25, Ricky Barton's going to come.
Coughed up the football to 99% humidity right now.
I think Ricky Barton might argue with that he kind of smacked it out, but...
Well, in any event, Ottawa has possession at their 6-yard line. JC comes out throwing to Wayman Aldridge, and Aldridge crosses the 15 to the 16, and Ottawa will have a first down.
Well, I'm impressed with Ottawa. That's a great call by J.C. Watts. David Shaw notoriously likes to lay off the receivers, and J.C. recognized that, hit Wayman Aldridge, and they pick up a first down and get a little breathing space.
Well, this is as good a game as I've seen J.C. Watts play. He's completed 10 of 11 for 95 yards.
He seems to really feel comfortable today and have a command of what he wants to try and accomplish.
Ottawa has possession at its own 17. Watts throws over the middle. It was very nearly picked off by Frank Robinson. The pass was intended for Derek Zeno.
Well, initially he had Zeno open, but Frank Robinson last week's defensive star of the week, rather, goes high in the air and makes a nice tip.
Did he play well in Regina last Sunday?
Yeah, he sure did. He put a lot of pressure on the Homer Jordan, and the rest of the defense also played well, too.
You're talking about a guy who's had just a great year, though. If he continues on this year, he's certainly got to be looked at for the Shenley nominations.
Boy, it's getting around to that time where we start to think about it, isn't it?
You know, you're right.
2nd and 10, Rough Riders. Steve Hall with the big pass reception for Ottawa into Winnipeg territory at the 43-yard line. J.C. hit him right on the dead run, and finally Ken Haley was able to bring him down. The rookie from Guelph University, Steve Hall, who was with the Edmonton Eskimos, drafted initially by them.
And he did a great job. One of the few times you're going to see Winnipeg in a zone. He read it perfectly. So did J.C., and that's a 50-yard gain down the middle in the seam. Nice catch. Boy, he does remind me a little bit the way I used to get down the seam there, doesn't he?
Well, no, wait a minute. I said he looked like you when he was running. That was the only thing I said.
You know what I like, though? He made a really good read. Saw the zone coverage, went to the open spot, and J.C. found him.
J.C. over at the sidelines now, talking with head coach Joe Moss. That's the 4th reception by Steve Hall this afternoon for 65 yards. And we still have 10 minutes, 45 seconds left to play in this first half. Well, very entertaining first half to play.
Very impressive the way Ottawa's got the fumble recovery by Ralph Dixon after that hit by Ricky Barton on Joe Poplawski. Got the turnover and now worked it from deep in their own territory into the Winnipeg Blue Bomber territory.
Hall has caught as many passes in this game as he had all season. That ball was over the head of Wayman Aldridge. David Shaw was going to make sure that if it was a lateral, he was going to have possession, but they rule it an incomplete forward pass.
Well, you know, it looks like Hall is making both Winnipeg and Toronto, who he had tryouts and was with earlier, look a little bad here, as Ottawa appears to have come up with a kid who's going to give them a lot of offensive thrust, because he has just looked tremendous in this first half.
Well, Bill, so many times it's just right place at the right time, you know, and obviously he's here at the right time, and maybe those other clubs he just didn't fit at certain times of the year with them.
No, didn't get the chance.
2nd down and 10 yards to go, Ottawa. Watts pass, looking for Mike Catterbone, but it goes out of bounds, and it'll bring up a 3rd and 10. Roy Bennett on the defensive coverage for Winnipeg against Ottawa's Mike Catterbone.
Well, you know, so many games are decided by field position. Ottawa did a great job moving it out of their own end. Now Ken Clark in the ball game, along with Dean Dorsey for a field goal attempt, but they just did a super job getting it out of their own territory.
Leaf, now you used to play on this particular unit. This kind of air must be harder to kick into, though.
Well, it's very heavy. You know, on the long field goals, it could make a little bit of a difference.
And this is a 49-yarder by Dean Dorsey.
Oh, he hit it good.
He hit this one great. It is good. Dean Dorsey with a 49-yard. He has been so consistent since coming to Ottawa. He was with Toronto originally, then was cut. Went down to the NFL and tried a couple of camps down there and landed in Ottawa, and he's here forever if he continues to kick as well as he has these past 2 seasons.
Very personable young fella, too. Always enjoy having a chat with Dean when we come to Ottawa.
So the Blue Bombers will start at their 35-yard line. Clemens' pass, he was hit just as he released the ball, looking for Sean Keogh, and as a result, the pass goes incomplete.
Now, fans, if you're wondering what the booing's all about, it's because the sideline umpire went out there and waved, "No catch, no catch." A little previously, there was one where they thought it bounced about 3 feet in front of the Winnipeg receiver, and he called it a fair catch. And so that's what they're doing. They're just letting the officials know how they feel about the calls.
Ottawa's playing extremely well defensively, and they've capitalized on the 3 turnovers that Winnipeg has made, and they've gone in to score points on every occasion. Down. And Clemens did not get the first down as he stepped out at about the 43-yard line, but there will be a holding penalty assessed against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Well, it's Richard Nemeth, and it's going to be, I believe, a clipping penalty.
Lloyd Lewis, number 63, the big defensive end, went over, gave the official a tap on the fanny and said, "You made a nice call." Yeah, there you see the holding. He dragged him down.
Winnipeg number 62. Second down repeated.
Well, you're absolutely right, Bill. It was a holding penalty against Nemeth, the left offensive tackle, and Ottawa forces Winnipeg back to their 25-yard line. So it'll be second down and 20 yards to go for the Blue Bombers. I don't even know if I would have forced them back. I mean, to give Clemens another chance, sometimes invite disaster. Pass is knocked away by Ralph Dixon, number 22. It was intended for Willard Reeves, but a good defensive play by Dixon will force the Blue Bombers into a punting situation.
Once again, good pressure by that Ottawa front four, too. Number 61, Gary Lewis gets in there. Michel Bourgeau as well. And then Ralph Dixon knocks it away. The fans at Lansdowne Park are very appreciative of the effort of their defense here in the first half.
Well, they really have done an outstanding job, as Bob Cameron, who really put on a performance in Regina last Sunday, where he averaged over 62 yards until his final punt of the ball game. Oh, this is a good punt. This chases Derek Zeno back to his 28-yard line. Zeno gets up to about the 39 before he's run out of there by Willard Reeves. Would you like more midweek games scheduled during the summer months? 76% of the callers said yes. Only 24% said no. Now our poll today. Would you like to see the convert removed from the CFL game? I don't know why anybody would, but if you have a feeling about it, there are the numbers to call.
I agree with you. Absolutely not, Pat.
Ditto.
Ty Jones was right in quarterback J.C. Watt's face the moment that he tried to roll to that side back at the 27-yard line. Well, there's a big loss on that play. 4-9, about 11-yard loss.
That's the big feature of the Winnipeg defense, that ability to put pressure on the quarterback that time. Tyrone Jones in untouched. And this is a very unenviable spot for J.C. Watts to be in, second and long.
Well, there's Joe Moss, and I'll tell you, he is running this football program his way. If you don't like it, you walk. Jim DeSilva didn't like it this week. He's gone. JoJo Heath was relegated to the reserve list. He didn't like that. He's not being paid for this game, and he could be in trouble. So are the Rough Riders because of the interception by Scott Flagel. And Flagel takes it all the way in for a touchdown. The Bombers have tied this football game. A 45-yard interception return for a touchdown by Scott Flagel, who picks off his second pass of the year.
Well, as I said, you don't want to be second and long against this club. Scott Flagel just sits in the weeds, reading the pattern, comes up with a nice interception down the sidelines, and 45 yards later, he's going to find himself in the end zone.
And now Trevor Kennard will have an opportunity to give the Blue Bombers their first lead of the ball game.
And that's his second interception this season. This one, a big one as it goes for a touchdown. Boy, he's turned out to be a good one. Made a big hit earlier in the ball game and now comes up with the interception.
Kennard's Point after is good. The Bombers are out in front of the Rough Riders, 14-13, with 7 minutes and 10 seconds left to play. Well, the Blue Bombers have really capitalized on the mistakes that Ottawa has made, but conversely, Ottawa has done the same thing. However, Winnipeg has scored 2 touchdowns. Ottawa has 1 touchdown and 2 field goals.
That's right. The big hit earlier by Ty Jones, causing the fumble, culminated in that 1-yard touchdown run by Willard Reeves. Now a Scott Flagel interception gives the Bombers the lead.
That has to be so discouraging for Ottawa, though. I mean, they have played well most aspects of their game, and then 2 turnovers and they're trailing.
Well, Pat, it's discouraging for the defense because they've really played their hearts out here in the first half and certainly played well enough to be leading at this point, but now find themselves trailing by a single point.
Leif, what happens when you go to the second half of a game where it is so muggy? Is this going to affect the players? In other words, is it going to slow them down in that second half?
Well, I think it will, Bill, and I think you'll see the pass rush slowing down just a touch, and not so much the receivers. These guys can run all day, but I think it's the big horses. You're going to see that pass rush maybe slow down just a touch.
Trevor Kennard is set to kick it off for the Blue Bombers. Catterbone and Zeno are back to receive for Ottawa, and we had a false start. Will be Zeno from his 4-yard line. Well, the cover teams of both these outfits are really doing a great job. Down very quickly again was Pat Cantner to make the tackle on Zeno as he crossed the 20-yard line to about the 23.
We have an injured Winnipeg player on the field right now, Pat, and it's interesting that the trend tight in both divisions, that you just can't afford to drop too far behind.
Well, you're right. You can't suffer 2-3 losses in a row because all of a sudden you're out of it. But as long as you can win 50% of your games, particularly in the Eastern Conference, you're going to have a shot. It is first down Ottawa from their 23-yard line. Watt's pass is caught by Wayman Aldridge, except that he was out of bounds.
You talk about the races. You look at this Winnipeg club on the field today. It seems like every week BC plays the day before them or 2 days before them and keeps winning and keeps getting that 4-point margin. Winnipeg wins and cuts it back to 2, but they've got a big back-to-back series coming in up in October, and I can't help but think both clubs are kind of looking ahead at that each week.
Well, it's going to be 2 games that everybody in Canada will want to watch, that's for sure. Second down, 10 yards to go, Ottawa. Boy, Watts has had more time to throw today than I've seen him in weeks. And Wayman Aldridge could not hang on. Catterbone appeared to be open, but I kind of took my eyes off him. Was he, in fact, open very deeply?
I really wasn't watching. I was watching Wayman Aldridge come across the middle.
I was standing right beside Catterbone coming up, and he was wide open. He was waving his arms.
Boy, I tell you, if Joe blames him for that pass that was dropped by Wayman Aldridge. However, Ken Clark is punting on 3rd down and 10 for Ottawa. This one bounces to Glenn Steele at his own 50, and Steele slips through there and gets out over midfield into Ottawa territory at the 53-yard line before Wayman Aldridge, number 8, was there to bring him down. Well, we're going to join the Winnipeg Blue Bombers next Friday night as the Montreal Concords will pay their visit to Winnipeg. That'll be a great, great contest, and we'll welcome Frank Rigney to join our crew because Leaf is going to take the week off to prepare for the following week when he'll be flying all over the country back and forth for 3 straight games. So, Riggs, we're looking forward to being with you next Friday night in Winnipeg. Clemens' pass is caught by Jeff Boyd, and Boyd has the first down to the 42-yard line. Excuse me, make that 80 and not 70, which is James Hood.
Kind of tough at times to distinguish between 70 and 80 out there, but James Hood was the receiver who came back to the quarterback, did a nice job.
The Bombers do not huddle up. They have a first down at the Ottawa 41. A lot of people say, why do they do this? It's to keep the defense off their guard, as Boyd this time does make the reception and picks up another first down for the Blue Bombers at the 31-yard line, upended by Kevin Gray, number 35.
Well, Pat, I don't know a team in the country that doesn't send in defensive signals on every play to get the alignments that the coaches want, and this is a great way for Tom Clements to disrupt that. No huddle, call to play, and they're such a well-oiled offensive unit. This is nothing for them to do this.
Clements' pass is caught again by Boyd. He will score. Touchdown, Winnipeg. Oh, is this guy smooth? Jeff Boyd is so fluid in his running motion that if you don't hit him the moment the ball gets there, forget it. He's going to go the distance.
Oh, and I can't believe they got it in there. They rolled up the coverage to his side. He was able to squirt in the little hole in behind Kevin Gray and 25 Ricky Barton, and he is just a tremendous, tremendous receiver in the open field.
And the Winnipeg Blue Bombers now have an opportunity to make it an 8-point lead, as Trevor Kennard is out to try the point after with 4 minutes and 48 seconds left to play. And I see you sitting here shaking your head because Ottawa has really played so well, and Winnipeg just can hit you at any moment in the game.
Well, the thing is, that's the kind of coverage that you shouldn't be able to complete a pass into that area. And yet Tom Clements saw Boyd come open in there, feathered it in there, and you get a 30-yard touchdown out of a play that I don't think should ever originated.
Would you have ever thought that they would score a 105-yard touchdown with the time running out in Regina last week at the first half?
Well, that's the reason why I'm such a believer in the Winnipeg Blue Bombers this year.
Procedure, Winnipeg, not 7 men on the line.
Winnipeg can do it to you from anywhere on the field at any time. And when you have that type of an offense, you're never going to be out of a ball game.
So because Winnipeg was called a procedure penalty, they had to try it over again, but no problem for Trevor Kennard. He boots it through there, and the Blue Bombers have an 8-point lead over the Ottawa Rough Riders, who aren't as spry as they were about 10 minutes ago. I noticed their kickoff return team coming out on the field. Bob Steven has his head down. Let's go to Bill Stevenson.
John Sturdivant having a bit of a problem. It's below the knee, though. It's just on the side of the calf where he took a knock. He is putting some ice on it, and I don't think Sturdivant's going to be out to any extent. As a matter of fact, the Dr. Carrick, says that he thinks he'll be able to go back in and be all right.
Would you not agree, Bill, that this Winnipeg Blue Bomber offense is scary, though?
Oh, sure it is. I mean, here they are. They should have been down. Ottawa has controlled much of the first half. They had the big lead of 10-0, and they looked like, and they had every break in the book going for them. But their offense was looking good. Then they make one mistake, leads to a touchdown, and Winnipeg, with that momentum, just start rolling. And you've got Clements, who people say hasn't been playing as well. Well, he's got a 57 pass percentage this year compared to 62 last year. And as we all know, when Tommy Clements is right, he's going to kill you.
To be sure. He's already won 2 Grey Cups, one with Ottawa, one with Winnipeg last year. As Zeno will field this right at his Ottawa goal line. And again, Pat Cantner was down. That's 3 times this afternoon that Cantner has been there to make the tackle.
Yeah, and that's just desire. Nothing more than that. It doesn't take a lot of natural ability to run down and cover kicks. It's just, you got to say to yourself, I'm going to be the first guy down there and make the play, and he's done it all afternoon.
Well, you see head coach Joe Moss talking things over with Bernard Quarles. And that's who's going to come in to run this Ottawa offense. And the fans seem to like the idea because Quarles is getting a good round of applause as he comes out to that Ottawa offensive huddle. Steve Hall is leading the game. Mike Hudson is in there to replace him. Quarles has completed 55% of his passes, only 1 for a touchdown. 2 of them were intercepted. Quarles does a good job as he runs it out over the 35-yard line to the 36 to give Ottawa a first down and a little bit of breathing room with 4:13 left to play in this first half, and Winnipeg out in front 21-13. You're going to see an awful lot of fellows go down this afternoon because of the extreme humidity.
Well, that's when those muscle cramps will start to set in, but Bernard Quarles on his first offensive play this afternoon. Things are covered downfield, and he is an excellent runner, and he picks up his first down.
15 yards, the gain by Bernard Quarles. Bill?
J.C. Watts is out of the lineup because he's injured his right foot. We haven't got the report from the doctor just how severe it is yet. But that is the reason that the change has been made, not because Joe Moss is unhappy with the way Watts has been going. And as you said earlier, you'd be very surprised, Pat, if he took him out because he didn't like the way he'd been operating, because this has been a very good half for him. But it is the foot, and that's why he's on the sidelines.
Thank you, Bill. Gary Moten was the injured Winnipeg Blue Bomber. He leaves the field of play, number 69. As the Ottawa offense, under the leadership of Bernard Quarles, have possession at their own 36-yard line. Scott Flagel on the safety blitz. But Quarles was able to get it away to Derek Zeno, but Wiley Turner was there to put the big hit on him, and there is no completion.
Well, here comes Watts again. It couldn't have been that bad because JC is now coming back into the ball game, Pat.
Well, he's standing on the sidelines right now. I think,
Bill, you saw number 8 instead of number 6, but what a nice effort by Derek Zeno to make that catch. Good coverage by Wiley Turner, and I'll give Bernard Quarles a lot of credit. He saw Scott Flagel coming right in his face and stood in the pocket and tried to deliver that football.
Quarles is dropped back at the 31-yard line. The problem there was he got all caught up in the traffic, and he had no place to run to.
Well, I guess I caught it wrong from the coaches, but what they said was Watts is ready to go back in, and they'll put him back in the game. So obviously the foot injury is not that bad, Pat.
So that's the status of J.C. Watts as Ken Clark in the punting unit comes out onto the field to kick for Ottawa with 3:23 left. Lots of time for Winnipeg to put another scoring drive together. Both punters have had trouble kicking from where Clark is right now. Although the wind is not a factor, I don't understand what the problem is. Again, not a particularly good kick by Clark. Glenn Steele has it bounce around, picks it up at the 43, and gets out park in the nation's capital, where the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have control. They lead it 21-13, and they have possession at their own 48-yard line. With Tom Clements at quarterback, he's gone all the way with the exception of one play when he was shaken up. Clements sets up the screen. Sean Keogh can go the distance and will. Sean Keogh on the screen pass from Tom Clements goes 62 yards, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers blow this one open again.
Well, you see the reaction of Cal Murphy. He's certainly pleased on the sidelines as Sean Keogh, number 39, takes it. Number 43, John Bonk out in front, but really the initial good move to get around Rick Sovieta, then some sloppy tackling from here on in, and it's a 62-yard touchdown for Sean Keogh, and Winnipeg really has taken control in the second quarter.
They lead it now by 14 points with an opportunity to make it 15. There is an Ottawa Rough Rider down on the field. Number 33 for Ottawa is Lamont Meacham, the cornerback on the left side.
You know, I thought that I agreed with you wholeheartedly off the top of the show, Pat, when you said
the Bombers, who spotted Ottawa a 10-0 lead, are now in front by 15.
You know, we've questioned Tom Clements' efficiency so far this season, but already in the first half, 10 of 14, 222 yards, 2 touchdown passes. Not a bad effort. Joe, yes, you've got to be a little concerned, and Tommy, you're having a good half. And I looked like he said thank you there.
Well, the Rough Riders are going to have another opportunity to return this kickoff, and let's see if Pat Cantner is there to make the tackle again. Boy, what a turnaround in this ball game. Tom Clements is, first of all, the defense of Winnipeg capitalized on a couple of turnovers, and then Winnipeg's offense is in high gear now.
Well, Pat, you know, we've talked about Pat Cantner on these special teams. We're going to follow him down the field this time and we'll see how he does.
Zeno is back to his goal area. And Zeno this time has a much better return over the 30 to about the 32-yard line. He was upended there by Roy Bennett. That's the best return by either side this afternoon.
Yeah, maybe the reason was they finally took care of Pat Cantner. You see him coming down, they kind of wrestle him to the turf. I don't know if that's holding or not, but it created a little seam for Derek Zeno, and much better return that time for Ottawa.
A 31-yard return by Zeno because the Rough Riders have possession at their 31-yard line. Quarles' pass is caught by Mike Catterbone, and then Catterbone turned into the arms of Scott Flagel after he got to about the 36-37 yard line.
Well, Pat, interesting. You and I were having breakfast this morning, and a statistic that I found very interesting. At this same point last year, there were 158 sacks of quarterbacks. This year, at the same point, 245. That's quite a difference.
A number of reasons for that, I think.
Yeah, well, let's talk about it after this play.
Quarles' pass was intended for Zeno, but he could only get one hand on it, and Ottawa will be punting again. And it's got to be scary for that Rough Rider team to know that there's still 2:06 left to play in this half.
There was so many more sacks this year. You know, all the teams seem to be going to the all-Canadian offensive line to try and place imports in other spots. And, of course, they put most of those imports on defense, and I think that's the result.
Well, I talked to John Bonk about it before the game, and he doesn't agree with that. He thinks the inexperience of many quarterbacks in the league would certainly be a factor, and he also thinks that the defenses have jammed those receivers so much that there just isn't an opportunity for the quarterback to get rid of the football.
Now, that sounds like an explanation from an offensive lineman.
Absolutely.
And a Canadian.
Glenn Steele bursts out of there, and Steele is up to the 45-yard line. What an exciting punt returner Glenn Steele is. Al Washington finally wrapped him up. But a good return of 14 yards by Glenn Steele after that 41-yard punt by Ken Clark.
Pat and Leaf, as every Canadian Football League fan knows, teams that win championships do it with superior Canadian talent. That is the thing that makes the overbalance for a championship club. Sean Keogh is one of those, and you showed him on that great touchdown, and we're going to be talking to him, as a matter of fact, at halftime. The CFL this week, Argos versus Lions last night, of course, and that will be shown, the highlights of that game. And Glenn Steele, who you were just talking about from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, will be the subject of our player profile. So that's at halftime, which will be coming up in just a couple of minutes. And also, I'll be talking, as I said, right off the top with Sean Keogh.
Al Washington was shaken up on the play. The linebacker of the Ottawa Rough Riders is walking off under his own steam. But right now it is imperative from an Ottawa viewpoint that they get out of this quarter not down by any more than they already are, and that's 15 points. There's the end around to Jeff Boyd. And Boyd just hopped over people. The ball comes loose. Michel Bourgeot saying that Ottawa has recovered, but I don't think that's the case. Winnipeg comes up with the football. Jeff Boyd got it back. Haven't been wildly impressed by Kevin Gray, the cornerback who's replacing JoJo Heath.
You watch as Jeff Boyd comes around in the reverse. He's going to just jump right over top of number 35, Kevin Gray. Maybe that's what got him off balance and caused that fumble, but he was alert enough. It comes back into the pile, and they recovered.
And pick up 8 yards as Willard Reeves bursts out of there, and Reeves is all the way down to the Ottawa 37-yard line. Boy, does he accelerate quickly. Chris Ziegler, the middle linebacker, the middle safety, number 38, upended him, but a 22-yard gain by Willard Reeves.
And great job on that left side of the offensive line. Richard Nemeth, Nick Mustat.
60 full minutes you're going to lose because these guys are just so powerful.
Well, Pat, it's the intangible things that take over. We're talking like fumbles, interceptions. Scott Flagel interception for a touchdown, another fumble turned into a touchdown. Those are the things you don't count on, and they have happened to Ottawa today.
Clemens' pass is knocked down. He was looking for Hood, but Ralph Dixon, number 22, was there to bat it away.
Did a nice job, too, sliding over underneath that zone coverage and knocks the ball away.
Blue Bombers have scored 21 points in this second quarter. They lead it 28-13 with just 58 seconds left to play till halftime. And if you joined us late, Ottawa led this one 10-0. Since then, they've been outscored 28-3. Second and 10 Bombers from the Ottawa 37th. Clemens with time fires. Glenn Steele was the intended receiver, but they may call him.
Yeah, I sure hope they do, because the defensive backs are allowed to make a play on the football. Oh, boy.
Pass interference. Ottawa, number 25.
The fans can't believe it, and I'll be honest with you, neither can I, because it was definitely offensive pass interference. The flag came down. There's no question there was contact, but as Leaf has pointed out, the defense is entitled to their position on the field as well.
Yeah.
That's simply a bad call, that's all. Happens to everybody. Winnipeg has a first down at the Ottawa 16-yard line. Poplawski has the reception, and he's wrapped up at about the 14. Chris Sigler, the middle safety, was there to bring him down. Joe Poplawski, game in and game out, has been truly one of the finest receivers in the CFL for his entire career.
Sure has, and he's a big play kind of guy. And I know Tommy Clements, as a quarterback, likes to go to those guys he can count on in the clutch, and Joey Pops will always come up with that big catch.
That's his 43rd reception of the year, and it leads the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in that category. Second down and 8, Bombers at the Ottawa 14. Pass was intended for Poplawski, but he had slipped down to the turf, so he had no opportunity to make the catch. So we're going to see Trevor Kennard and the field goal unit for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Fortunately, from an Ottawa point of view, that pass interference call didn't hurt them that badly, because I'm sure Kennard would have been trying a field goal and probably would have made it because he has such great distance anyway. Field goal try will come from the 21-yard line. And Trevor pumps it through there. There is a penalty marker on the field.
Great. Thank you.
Procedure penalty against Winnipeg. Ottawa will accept the call, force them back 5 yards. And so instead of coming from the 21, it'll come from the 26-yard line. Still for Trevor Kennard, that's just a chip shot.
Had a bit of a rough exhibition
Procedure,
preseason.
Winnipeg, no end.
Got off to a rough start, but really has been able to straighten things out as the season has progressed. 22 of 31, Trevor, on the year, and probably will add to that right here.
And he does. And the Winnipeg Blue Bombers add to their lead. Winnipeg 31, Ottawa 13, with still 19 minutes left to play.
Willard Reeves is sitting on the bench holding on to that left hand of his, and the problem is that he got it wrapped, and they're not sure how bad it is. They won't know, of course, if there's a break or anything until x-rays later, but the doctor says he's going to take him in at halftime, put a bit of a cast on, and he'll be able to come out and play. And Willard says, just give me something. He says, I'll come out and play. So he is going to play, although they aren't sure just how bad the injury is to that left hand, and it certainly hurts. And Willard just said to me, I'm going in. All right, he's going in, despite the fact they're leading 31-13, Pat.
Okay, let me correct. I said there was 19 minutes left. Of course, there's only 19 seconds. And tomorrow afternoon's game in Montreal will start at 1 o'clock Montreal time. The Saskatchewan Roughriders will be the visitors, and a big game for both the Riders and the Concords starts at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon in Montreal. Ottawa elects to have Winnipeg kick off, because they have had success returning these kickoffs this year, but this afternoon, the Blue Bombers cover teams have been outstanding. Boy, football's a funny game. It can turn so quickly. Ottawa completely dominated the game. We're in front 10-0. J.C. Watts was hit when he was back to pass. Winnipeg got possession at the Ottawa 3-yard line, and that was the start of it. Mike Hudson just bats the ball out of bounds. Pretty alert play by him, because he knew that Winnipeg was coming down. And rather than give them an opportunity of getting it, he batted it out of bounds at the 42.5-yard line.
What do you think? You think that was an onside try, or just chip it in the hole?
I think it was chip it in the hole, don't you? I mean, they're always onside, but I think that rather than...
Well, it wasn't a very good try if it was a try for an onside kick.
Kept his head down, though, which was good.
Well, he tried to pop it up and get it in that area.
So the Rough Riders, with 18 seconds left until halftime, have Bernard Quarles back out there at quarterback. And he he also has Frank Robinson right in his face back at the 31. I was just going to ask you, how does Frank Robinson get there so quickly? I mean, he obviously wasn't blocked.
Well, you know, when you play that 3-4 defense, you can give so many different looks and overloads, and you can get some key mismatches. Now, the old theory is you got big offensive linemen blocking smaller linebackers, but these guys are so quick. Tyrone Jones, Frank Robinson, Darrell Patterson, and Gary Moulton, that they're just able to mismatch a certain area, overload, and then a guy comes free.
Ottawa has given up 42. Zeno from his 9-yard line. And Zeno gets it out to about the 25. Down quickly for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers was Mike Robinson, number 31. And Ottawa will start at that point. And we'll just see J.C. Watts is coming out to quarterback the club. He started the ball game. Picked up a little nick in the second quarter, so they inserted Bernard Quarles, but Ottawa was effective with J.C. at the controls, not with Quarles. Zeno goes in motion. So too does big Jim Reed, and the give is inside. And flying through there was Lester Brown. He crossed the 30. Let's see where they'll spot it down. Tony Norman was there to bring him down. They'll place the ball at the 32-yard line, so credit him with a pickup of about 6 yards. Bill?
Willard Reeves is going to go back in the ball game. He told when they're ready to go offensively. At least he just came up to me and he said, look, it feels great. I'm going back in. He's got it all bandaged. He's talking to head coach Cal Murphy, and he's got Cal laughing anyway, so maybe Cal will let him play.
Ottawa starts out as they did in the first quarter with a pass to Steve Hall. And the Guelph graduate picks up the first down for the Rough Riders to their 42-yard line. He's brought down by 37 Frank Robinson and 23 Roy Bennett.
Well, Steve Hall's done a good job in this ball game, and on 2nd and 4, just a quick push-out pattern and turn it upfield. Easy first down.
Well, I think it's imperative that Ottawa get on the board before Winnipeg does again, or this game is over. Watts pass is caught for another first down. And at the Winnipeg 46-yard line, Mike Catterbone caught it in traffic. Roy Bennett was there to hit him the moment the ball got to him. Good pass by Watts.
Yeah, and he got good protection that time. That's the key. Now he can step up in the pocket, have that little extra split second to find the open receiver, and Mike Catterbone made a heck of a catch.
22 yards the pickup from Julius Caesar Watts to Mike Catterbone. Catterbone, the rookie, coming to Ottawa from a free agent camp. He was discovered by their personnel director, Tom Dimitrov, who also found Derek Zeno. Watts had no place to throw that football. Stan Mikowicz was on his back, and he gets credit for the sack.
Well, you could see initially he wanted to throw that quick screen to Wayman Aldridge, but David Shaw came up, forced the play, so JC had no place to go. And when you got a quick set by your offensive lineman, you're not going to have much time to throw.
And for Stan Mikowicz, number 75, that's his 3rd sack of the season. Ottawa now finds itself 2nd and 14 with the ball back at the Winnipeg 50. Watts puts it up, and just beyond the outstretched arms of Mike Catterbone. Roy Bennett was with him step for step.
And he did a good job because he was right on Mike Catterbone's hip, and then that forces the quarterback to just lay an absolutely perfect strike in. And if the ball's just a little off, you won't make the reception, as happened there.
There's bad news for Ottawa. Lamont Meacham didn't come out of the dressing room when they came back for the half. He had his bell rung toward the end of the first half, and they're just not sure if he's going to get back into action or not. They have to wait and see. But that will certainly give them problems in that defensive backfield.
Ottawa lines up in field goal formation. Dean Dorsey's try will come from 57 yards out. If he makes it, it'll be his longest this season. And it is wide, but it is deep enough that it'll go. Saint-Air Speedway in St. Pie, Quebec. 2:30 tomorrow afternoon. 81 degrees here at Lansdowne Park now. It was 77 degrees at kickoff, and the humidity now is 100%.
Well, Bill told you about the injury to Lamont Meacham. That means number 39, Mike McIntyre, whom they acquired from Hamilton at the beginning of the season, is playing the corner.
They give inside to Willard Reeves, and Willard gets to midfield for a pickup of close to 5 yards. Upended there by Ralph Dixon, number 22. And when you saw McIntyre come out to play the corner, you said, oh, Tommy's going to love this.
Well, you got a guy that's played middle safety his whole career. He's been in the league 4 years, the last 3 with the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And now you put him out on the corner with guys like James Hood and Jeff Boyd. It could be scary.
Give again to Willard Reeves, and Reeves picks up the first down. He just keeps those legs pumping. Finally runs into Al Washington, but it'll be a first down for the Bombers at the Ottawa 48-yard line. And with his performance this afternoon, it will not be surprising if Willard becomes the #1 rusher in the CFL, because Keevan Jenkins didn't pick up that many yards last night. A 100-yard game for Willard will give him the #1 spot this afternoon. He's up to 55 already on 8 carries. First down, Bombers at the Ottawa 48.5. And the Bombers are going to be called on a time count violation.
I think they wanted it. They were trying to make a substitution, and they couldn't get one made. And so as a result, I think that time count really...
Time count violation. Winnipeg number 2. First down repeated.
It was made so that they could make the substitution.
Yeah, John Bonk, the center, seems to be a little nicked on a play, so they want to get him out of the lineup.
Mark Moores has gone in, number 50. So the Bombers have first and 15 at the Ottawa 53. Clemens' pass is complete to Jeff Boyd. It's that little flanker screen. Look at this guy fly. He's forced out of bounds at the Ottawa 43-yard line.
Boy, it just appears as though you have a beat on him and have him boxed in or cornered, and he can just break it outside with that tremendous stride of his. You know, it takes a couple of strides. He's gone 10 yards.
John Bonk is back in the ball game. Mark Moores comes out. So does Sean Keogh as Pat Kantner goes in to replace him. Winnipeg has a 2nd and 5 situation with the ball at the Ottawa 43-yard line. It's 31-14. Bombers over the Rough Riders with 10 minutes left to play in this third quarter. Ottawa jumped offside. Willard Reeves was met right in the hole by Tom Towns. But I suspect the penalty will be against Ottawa. Well, that's another big penalty against the Rough Riders because it gives Winnipeg a first down. Here's the call.
Offside. Ottawa number 66. First down.
Greg Marshall, the right defensive end, was just a little over anxious on that play. He jumped offside, and it negated a good play by Tom Towns. So the Bombers have the ball at the Ottawa 38. Nice pass for Pat Kantner, and Kantner is upended by Tom Towns and then pinned down at the 26-yard line by number 39, and that, of course, is the newcomer Mike McIntyre. As Kantner came up, looked like maybe he sprained his ankle, but he's still out there.
You know, all the good teams in the CFL have that great Canadian depth. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers are no exception, especially at that Canadian running back spot. Sean Keogh, Pat Kantner, number 34, Glenn Steele, so they've sure got a lot of bodies that they can use during a game.
This is Willard Reeves on the draw, and Willard is inside the 25 to about the 23-yard line before Michel Bourgeot, number 83, was there to bring him down, along with Al Washington, number 17, and Rick Sovieta as well.
Sure makes it nice on a hot, muggy day like this to have a few extra backs that you have confidence in. You know, you can give them some playing time. Everybody gets a rest, and also everybody feels like they're a part of the offense.
Well, we ran into Pat Kantner when he was playing in the Vanier Cup for the University of British Columbia, and we struck up a friendship. All of us did on the crew with him. And every time we see the Bombers, it's always a pleasure to see him.
Well, they go after Mike McIntyre here.
And did a pretty good job to at least distract James Hood, the intended receiver, number 80.
Well, I knew it wouldn't be long before Tom Clements recognized the fact that Mike McIntyre was in the ball game, and he did a pretty good job coverage. I thought James Hood might have made the catch, but couldn't have thrown the football in a much better spot.
Boy, was that perfectly delivered.
Yep.
And so with 8 minutes and 30 seconds left to play in the third quarter, the field goal unit is out challenged. The escort radar warning 200 And if you want to see something wild, check out Australian rules football, because I'll tell you that they love to hammer each other.
With no equipment.
Yeah. Bombers will kick off from their own 35. And this is Dwight Edwards, who watches the ball go out of bounds, and it'll force Winnipeg to do it all over again.
Well, Dwight got a chance to be a starter with the Calgary Stampeders in that trade for quarterback Bernard Quarles in the offseason. Things didn't quite work out for him. He's now in Ottawa, going to be working these punt and kickoff teams and backup slot back.
Well, there's nobody runs back kickoffs any better than Dwight Edwards. He's got the good speed, and he has that ability to find the opening. And we'll see what he does on this, his first appearance in an Ottawa uniform.
Kickoff, Winnipeg number 3.
He's back there with Mike Catterbone. I don't see Derek Zeno out there, so Dwight Edwards is replacing Zeno. And Trevor Kennard is back to his 30-yard line. Bombers lead it by 20 points, 34-14, with 8:20 left in the third quarter. Edwards from his 23-yard line. He really is an amazing guy, the way he can run those kickoffs back. To me, as a Canadian, I'd always have to find a spot in my roster for anybody who is outstanding at what he does. That's return kickoffs, as he did that one for 33 yards.
Well, what he does so well is he takes it straight up field to try and bunch up the cover team, and then he breaks it with that great speed to the outside, and all he needs is really 1 or 2 key blocks there, and he can take it the distance. But he sets it up well. That's the key.
And Ottawa has possession just inside Winnipeg's side of the field, right at midfield. JC carries it for about 4 yards to the 51-yard line. Stan Mickelwas, number 75, the nose guard, was there to bring him down. JC was very fortunate that Frank Robinson didn't drop him in the backfield.
Well, these guys can put some pressure on you all the time. You just never have a moment's rest, and unless you get rid of that ball very quickly, you know you're going to have the heat on you.
The guys that really get hit in this hot weather are the big fellows, it's like Nick Pastaya there. But the big guys come off in this humid weather, it's just killing them. They're pouring water on themselves, ice on it. Glenn Steele says, boy, this is one time when it's good to be small.
Derek Zeno makes the catch. He took the hit right away from Ken Haley, but he hung on to the football inside the Winnipeg 35-yard line for a pickup of 17 yards.
Hey, that's a great catch, and nice throw by J.C. Watts into the hole. Winnipeg sitting back in the zone. Zeno reads it perfectly, cuts into the open area. What I like, he knows he's going to get drilled by Ken Haley, but he says, boy, I might as well hang on to the football anyway.
Well, I said it earlier, and I don't mind reiterating it. This is the best I've seen J.C. Watts play this year, and one of the best games I've ever seen him play as far as throwing the football. Because he is not a great passer. This one looks pretty good, but it's picked off by Scott Flagel. Derek Zeno is complaining that there should have been an interference call. There is none. And Scott Flagel comes up with his second interception of the afternoon, his third Eastern time, Saturday, September the 14th. That's a week from tonight. First down, Bombers from their 25-yard line. Clemens' pass is complete to Hood, or was momentarily, until Mike McIntyre really put a lick on him. Good job by Mike McIntyre, because Hood was just getting ready to squeeze it.
Yeah, he sure did. Came up, forced the play nicely, put the big lick on him, and 2nd and 10. Tommy kind of floated this thing, though. Boy, I used to hate that as a receiver, because you knew the ball's just floating, and you're waiting and waiting, and you know you're going to get smoked as soon as it gets there. Oh, I hated that.
Doesn't the quarterback do that when he wants to teach the receiver a bit of a lesson?
Yeah, it's happened before.
Clemens going deep for Jeff Boyd. He makes the catch and steps out at the Winnipeg 52-yard line.
Boy,
he's a pleasure to watch.
Yeah, he sure is, and that's a great throw by Tom Clemens as well. Nick Volpe, our isolation director, has it for you as Jeff Boyd cuts underneath Kevin Gray initially, breaks it back to the corner, and a beautiful throw by Tom Clemens.
Well, Winnipeg is not the ideal opposition to make your debut in the CFL, as Kevin Gray, the cornerback, is finding out for Ottawa. Jeff Boyd's had success against them, and on that occasion picked up 27 yards. First down, Bombers at their 52. Clemens pass too far for Sean Keogh. Well, Well, they had the matchup they wanted. The back on the linebacker. Tom Towns was on Sean Keogh.
Yeah, they sure did. That's a play that they'll use 4, 5, 6 times a game where they just little play action, 3 receivers to one side of the field, and the third receiver has to be picked up by the linebacker. And in that case, Tom Towns, I think, was fortunate that that pass was overthrown.
We were speaking about Jeff Boyd, how fluid he is, what a great receiver he is. He's got 5 this afternoon for 103 yards, and of course that beautiful touchdown. 5 minutes, 20 seconds left to play in the third quarter. Bombers lead it by 20. And looking for more. The job by Tom Clements gets down at the Ottawa 40-yard line. He took it as far as he could and then just went into the slide.
Oh, and a smart play.
Absolutely. He was touched down there by Kevin Gray.
Well, of course, Tommy would not like to do this too much anymore, but at one time was absolutely tremendous in the open field. Now, out of necessity, he runs with the football and then takes it to the turf at the right time.
Well, nobody is always 100% at their best, but when he is, Tom Clements is as good as you could ever hope for in this league. And this is Willard Reeves. A good hit by Kevin Gray on that occasion, who came slicing through to make the tackle. And Willard is not an easy guy to bring down one-on-one.
Pat, you're talking about Tom Clements, and the interesting thing is that Tom Clements doesn't have that great an arm. But you take a look at quarterbacks back over the history in the CFL. The great ones, not great arms. Kenny Payne with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, good arm, not a great arm. Filoni with Hamilton, not a great arm. Clements, not a great arm, but what a sharp quarterback, and they just win for you.
Wilkinson, Lancaster, there's a whole slew of them.
That's right.
Well, not too much room there as Sean Keogh put his head down and tried to pick up a couple, but he ran into Michel Bourgeot. So out comes Trevor Kennard again. Tommy has completed 14 of 23 this afternoon for 269 yards. He has thrown 2 touchdown passes. So that will give him a total of 10 on the season.
You know, Bill, I was talking about those quarterbacks. What they all had in common was an ability to really understand offense and where the areas of the field they want to attack. So they just throw that football a little earlier, put it into an area that they know their receiver is going to come into.
Kennard's field goal try is wide. Ricky Barden will give up the single point. And so with 3 minutes and 32 seconds left to play in the third quarter, Winnipeg now has a 3-touchdown lead. It's 21 points. Winnipeg 35, Ottawa 14. And the Rough Riders, who started so quickly, grabbing the first 10 points of this ball game, have now felt the fury of that Winnipeg defense because they have really tightened up and not given Ottawa much room.
Well, this is very reminiscent to their meeting out in Winnipeg a few weeks ago.
But that's the point that I was trying to make about the Ottawa coaching staff. They had the club well prepared. I mean, their game plan was good. And when they executed it, things went well. And then they had the breakdowns and forget it.
Well, listen, the coach, as we all know, does not cause interceptions or fumbles. So, you know, that's the intangibles that we talked about earlier. Those things are the things you don't count on happening that sometimes do occur, and then the ball game is either won or lost.
Wayman Aldridge.
Tommy Clements is coming off the field, and he is really having his problems hanging onto the ball. I asked him, I said, what's the problem out there? He said, yeah. He says, just terrible, Bill. He said, the ball is so slick that it's tough to hang on to when you take it from center, and it makes it hard to throw as well. So on both sides, it is hard to hang on to the football.
Well, this is Lester Brown trying to get around the corner, but he can't do so. Stan Mickowas came in and made the tackle. On the previous play, it was Wayman Aldridge who had made the first down reception for the Ottawa Rough Riders. I'll bet you, Bill, if you asked every one of those guys, everyone would say the same thing. The ball is hard to hang on to today because of the humidity. So it's a pickup of 3, make it 2nd and 7. Ottawa at their 52-yard line. Mickowas again was in there. Flag comes down because he was held. Mike Catterbone was the intended receiver, but the play was made by Roy Bennett, who batted it away. Winnipeg will decline this because it'll force Ottawa into a 3rd down. Now they're going to accept the penalty.
Surprised at that. Really not in field goal range for Dean Dorsey, but
Holding. Ottawa number 57. 2nd down repeated.
Lamont Meacham is in his civvies. There he is in the sideline, sitting on the bench on the Ottawa Rough Rider side. He got a slight concussion. He is out of the game, of course. He seems to be fine, but they don't take any chances. However, the story is a slight concussion.
All right, the holding penalty was on number 57. That's Brad Fawcett, the left offensive guard for Ottawa. So make it second down and about 16 yards to go. JC goes deep looking for Dwight Edwards. He couldn't get to the football. The Ottawa crowd now is just listless. It's like their football team. It's as though, well, we're here, so we'll just kind of watch what happens. But nothing too exciting is going on. And as a result, you have a very quiet Lansdowne Park. The only thing that seems active are the bees that are floating around us.
You must have bees up there. We got wasps down here. They're the little things with the yellow jackets on them, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what we have.
Have they got anything to say about how humid it is?
They're saying we're going to sting a few people here and wake them up.
Ken Clark's punt will be handled by Glenn Steele at his 21-yard line. And he gets to the 29, so that's where the Bombers will take over. Down quickly to make the stop for Ottawa was Mike Hudson, number 73. It was a 47-yard boot by Ken Clark. An 8-yard return for the Bombers, and this one has turned into a yawner. Minute and 27 seconds left to play in the third quarter.
Tell you what I think it is, Pat, as much as anything, and I hate to harp on it, and I'm afraid we have been to a point.
It's the humidity, right, Bill?
Well, that's right. You look at the fans. I mean, they're sitting back. They don't even want to cheer too much.
Ask them what they think about how.
And I've been listening to you two guys. Is it humid up there?
Well, I really hope the sun comes out now. It's trying to hotter.
It'll bake everybody if it does. The pass was over Jeff Boyd's head. Boy, that's the place where a receiver can really get a career ended.
Well, you're so vulnerable, and I think, thank heavens he was all right as he came down. But, boy, when you're up there, you're just so defenseless against the big hit.
I don't remember the game, and you of course, will remember the situation. I remember you really got popped one time. It seems to me you were injured on the play, too. I think you were with Hamilton.
Yeah, I was with Hamilton, and we were playing against Saskatchewan. I went high in the air, and Bob Hosea, who was a defensive back out there, caught me right in the back, and I broke a couple of bones in the lower spine, and really a painful injury, but you're so stretched out and vulnerable, nothing you can do. But the quarterback, on the other hand, you know, he has to get it over top of the linebackers, and that's his job to put it in the area, too, so really can't blame anybody.
It's funny, Ricky Barton came out of that worse than Jeff Boyd did.
He's a real hitter, that Ricky Barton.
Boy, this is a long afternoon for Ottawa. I mean, it looks like they're saying, put everybody else in there. Not too many guys seem to be hopping up and down like, put me in, coach, put me in.
A lot of guys sitting at the end of the bench with the towel over their head so the coach can't see who they are.
Would you like to see the convert removed from the CFL game? If you think it should be, there's the number you vote yes on. No, 1-900-720-4720. If I had 50 cents, I'd call myself and vote no.
Well, do what you normally do. Borrow it.
2nd and 10, Winnipeg from their 30-yard line. Oh, Joe Poplawski was just getting ready to make the catch when Chris Ziegler's put his hand in there and knocked it away.
Once again, that ball floating, and I guess it's true. Can't get a grip on it today.
Bill, can you imagine if somebody like Sam Scotia was playing in this game? Sam would lose 150 pounds on a day like this.
Wouldn't he? I'll tell you, he would just be a blob of fat sitting on the sideline.
Well, I want to be there when Sam sees you the next time.
You said it. I just agreed.
I may have lost 35 pounds to get down under 200 this afternoon myself.
I wasn't going to say anything about that, but it could be helping your diet.
Well, we've got another time count violation. And Bob Cameron now walks to the sidelines.
Well, the problem is they were a man short, and he did the wise thing. Let that clock run out. We don't want to get a punt blocked at this stage in the game.
Violation. Winnipeg number 6. 3rd down repeated.
Yeah, it usually happens when a guy gets injured and his backup just kind of forgets we're late in the third quarter now, and Ty Jones came into the ballgame. I'm sure he was the backup at a certain position.
Ty was one of the guys you were talking about with the towel
over the head. You know, let me tell you a funny story about that. We're up playing, when I was a rookie with Saskatchewan, we were up at Edmonton for the first game of the season, and all I did was return punts. And it was one of those rainstorms in the summer that was
They
extreme.
trail by 21 points as we begin the final period. Wayman Aldridge makes the catch and gets to the 30-yard line, but Ottawa will be 3 yards short. David Shaw just played him loose, but then when he went up and made the catch, Shaw made the tackle, and it'll bring up a 3rd and 3. They're at the Winnipeg 30-yard line. JC looks, throws, and a fine catch by the other rookie, Derek Zeno, in at the 15-yard line. Now, Ottawa really does have something to build on, though, with these two kids.
Well, yeah, they're young and they're courageous, and well, when you've got to make the big catch on 3rd down gamble, you got to come up with the play, and Derek Zeno does it because that's a big hit from Scott Flagel.
So Ottawa will retain possession after that 15-yard gain. The ball is just inside the Winnipeg 15. To the end zone they go, but it goes incomplete. Looking for Wayman Aldridge. Coverage provided by Wiley Turner, number 28.
Once again, number 29, Jerome Erdman, the starting slot back for Winnipeg, moves into that defensive secondary, and I suspect before too long Cal Murphy better make a switch there because that's really leaving yourself a little thin on the defensive front.
Wayman Aldridge goes out of the ball game, and Dwight Edwards comes in. So he'll play that wide out on the left side for Ottawa on 2nd down and 10 yards to go. They throw quickly to Stephen Hall, and he's hit by number 24, Ken Haley, as he gets to the 10-yard line. So now it's 3rd and 5, and Ottawa again will go for it, trailing 35-14 in the early moments of the 4th and final period.
How about Jerome Erdman? Gets to come in and play a little defense and gets to come on a safety blitz all in one day.
So from the 10-yard line, this is it for Ottawa if they don't pick up the 1st down.
To be helped off the field. He is going to miss a defensive play or two for the Winnipeg club, but the doctor feels he'll be fine and he'll be able to come back in this 4th quarter.
Well, thank you, Bill. Tommy Clemens has completed 14 of 25 this afternoon for 269 yards. He has thrown 2 touchdown passes, but now he starts from deep in his own territory at the Winnipeg 10. Throws to Pat Cantner. Cantner turns it upfield and has very close to a 9-yard pickup before Kevin Gray, the cornerback on that side, number 35, was there to bring him down.
I wouldn't be surprised before too long, although I don't see him warming up, but you'd think maybe Cal Murphy at this stage would like to give John Hufnagel some work. A little over 12 minutes remaining in the 4th quarter with the game comfortably in hand.
Mike Robinson checks into the ball game, number 31 for Winnipeg.
Well, you're right. He's standing by the sidelines, Hufnagel leaf, with the clipboard, and he has not made any move toward warming up.
Give is inside to Pat Cantner, who dives his way over the 20, and he should have a 1st down for the Bombers, and does. I'll tell you, though, just look at the crowd. It's though, well, what else is there to do today? We're not, they're not excited. They're not booing. They're not cheering. They're just sitting there.
Well, I don't think I'd be on the edge of my seat either if it's 35-14 in the 4th quarter.
Look at the attendance, 19,165. Well, that's the lowest crowd I can remember in Ottawa for some time. Clemens' pass is caught for another 1st down at the 33-yard line. James Hood, number 80, made the catch for Winnipeg. Mike McIntyre, along with Ralph Dixon, there to bring him down.
Well, there's John Hufnagel, the backup quarterback, Penn State graduate. And I was not saying he would come into the game. I just was thinking out loud that maybe it would be a nice time to give him a little playing time.
So the Bombers continue this march. They are now at their 33-yard line. They started at the 10. Clemens throws. It's complete once again to Hood up around the 42. He'll be a yard or two short of the 1st down.
Well, they're giving number 39, Mike McIntyre, a little workout out there. And rightly so, laying off these receivers, and Tom Clements and James Hood just having a pitch and catch day out there.
Well, yeah.
You were going to say, Bill?
I'm just going to say that as far as this Winnipeg club is concerned, I know they're an extremely good club, but you have to think that maybe they have got the size in Ottawa.
Fairly quiet afternoon for Joe Pop this afternoon. Only caught 3 passes for 36 yards. The big receiver for the Bombers, Jeff Boyd, with 5 catches for 103. Nobody else has more than 3 after Jeff. They've got a good football club, and they'll give the Bombers a good test next Friday night, and we'll have it for you here on CTV. Good punt by Bob Cameron. And his Saskatchewan Roughriders in a game that starts at 1 o'clock. Very big game for the Concords and equally big for the Riders. And then tomorrow afternoon at 4 o'clock on the full CTV network, it'll be the Hamilton Tiger Cats playing the Eskimos in Edmonton. Both those games critical to all 4 teams involved. Watts is dragged down from behind by Tony Norman. Norman, who has good speed anyway, but JC really seems to be slowed down.
Well, Tony Norman just did an excellent job from that defensive end spot. Got the penetration initially and then had the break back outside, catch JC from behind. But the Winnipeg defense can sure be a dominating force when they get ahead in the ballgame.
Watts picked up a couple of yards, so make it 2nd and 8, Ottawa. Watts throws, Catterbone makes the catch and gives Ottawa first down at the 53-yard line before Roy Bennett, number 23, the cornerback on that side, was there to bring him down.
Yeah, good job by JC to stick that ball in there. They had a little zone. He cuts in front of Roy Bennett, makes a nice catch, and Ottawa picks up a first down.
Gain of 16 yards on the play for the Rough Riders. Thing they've got to work against, not only this very tough Winnipeg defense, but also the clock with just 8:35 left to play in the ball game. And Ottawa trailing by 21 points. Dumps it out to Lester Brown. And Lester runs hard to pick up another first down inside the Winnipeg 45-yard line. Ken Haley upended him there.
This Winnipeg Blue Bomber Club, with a victory this afternoon, moves within 2 points of first place. BC Lions holding that spot, of course, after their victory over Toronto Argonauts last night, increasing it to 4. But the interesting point is, the Bombers desperately want first, of course. But, you know, if they wind up first, then they'll have a 3-week wait until the final. And Leaf and Pat,
I guess it's not too strong. Here, you're going to get one more look at it. There's 68 Benjamin in your screen. Tyrone Jones, nothing wrong with what he did on the play, and then he's going to get drilled right in the back with the helmet, and you cannot use that helmet as a weapon.
well, you got to stop it, Leaf, and I don't care if you throw guys out or suspend them for games or whatever the situation, whether you feel it's accidental or not accidental, on purpose, etc. You simply have to make suspensions. The game's tough enough, and there are too many injuries as it is without allowing that type of play.
Fortunately, Ty Jones is all right. He ran off under his own steam. Boy, you would hate to see a player of that caliber injured seriously on a foolish penalty like that. Bernard Quarles going deep for Dwight Edwards. He makes the catch, and Edwards is down to the 12-yard line. That was a great throw by Bernard Quarles, an equally outstanding catch by Dwight Edwards, and only the sure tackle by Wiley Turner was able to prevent him from going all the way as it was. Ottawa picks up 60 yards.
Well, we've always known of the blinding speed of Dwight Edwards, and he shows it to you right there. The knock spin, he can't hang on to the football, but nice shot.
Two is Wayman Aldridge and Derek Zeno. Ottawa's going to run the football, it would appear. In any event, they'll have 3 tries from the 6-yard line, and they trail it by 21 points, 35-14. Bernard Quarles hands the ball off to Lester Brown. He ran right into Scott Flagel at about the 4-yard line, and he came to a halt. Darrell Patterson, 76, the inside linebacker, was there to help out as well.
Well, Winnipeg only playing with 11 players on the field that last play, and still had enough firepower to stop Lester Brown from getting in that end zone. Good job by Scott Flagel.
Ball is just outside the 2-yard line. It was again to Lester Brown, and he does not get in. Well, that's a tough defense to run the football against, no question about that. He's down to about the 1-yard line.
Good line play. John Sturdivant in there blocking things up, and there comes number 76, Darrell Patterson, to clean up on the play as well. 14, Scott Flagle once again.
Ball is actually at the 2.
Now the Rough Riders bring their passing unit back in the game and send out their short yardage team.
Third down, goal to go Ottawa from the Winnipeg 2. Quarles throws, and it's picked off. And this one could be returned the entire length of the field.
Nobody's going to catch David Shaw unless it's Nick Benjamin, the lineman.
Boy, give Benjamin some marks.
I can't believe it.
Well, that's a tremendous play by rookie Nick Benjamin from Concordia University. Well, that looks simple enough. Tom Clemens with his third touchdown strike of the afternoon. It goes to Jeff Boyd, and the Bombers increase it to 41-14.
They do make it look easy. Tommy, really, Jeff Boyd was not his initial target, but everything jammed up, so he just looked to the backside. Jeff Boyd cuts inside Kevin Gray, and another 6 points for what I think is just an outstanding receiver.
But really, the play that the Ottawa people liked the best was Nick Benjamin chasing down David Shaw. And as Bill Stevenson said when we were away for a commercial, no wonder he was chosen number 1, because this guy can not only play on the offensive line, but he's got some speed.
Well, we were upset with him with that spearing penalty he took against Tyrone Jones, but give credit where credit is due. He ran down a guy who's got lots of speed, David Shaw, and it was incredible. He didn't give up.
Let me tell you, Leaf, when David came back, as you predicted, the players were on him right from the start. They were throwing water at him. As a matter of fact, Coach Cal Murphy went up, and he was laughing. John Bach turned to him and said, "Hey, David," he says, "was that an offensive lineman?" And it was Nick Benjamin. But there's David taking the good-natured ribbing, and there's Benjamin, a rookie, a kid who came out of junior football in Scarborough and Oshawa. And boy, it shows you how good that junior program is, and it's going to be one of the really good ones, maybe one of the greats in the CFL in the years to come.
Well, let's not forget that he played at Concordia, and that helped his development as well.
Well, that's true, and I'm glad you brought that up, Pat.
We've got 5 minutes and 14 seconds left to play in this ball game. The start of it, I said there was no...
The best club in Canada, despite the fact BC Lions are on top.
Well, they've got 2 games upcoming against the Lions. We'll see what happens there. I like Winnipeg's chances, that's for sure. Dwight Edwards with the catch. And Dwight, showing that he wants to stick with this Ottawa club, gets a first down to the 43-yard line, a pickup of 21 yards. He was brought down by Gary Moten, starting at that inside linebacking spot for the Bombers for the second week in a row.
Dwight Edwards did a good
Mitch
job.
Holloway. First down Ottawa at their 43. Tyrone Jones gets the Ottawa quarterback out of bounds up around the 51-yard line. So he'll have a pickup of 8 yards. But you know, the Blue Bombers, even though they're ahead 42-14, still coming hard. Stan Mikowicz was in there. Would you like to see the convert removed from the CFL game? There are the numbers to call. Yes, 1-900-720-3720. No, 720-4720. Flag is down as Lester Brown slashes his way into Winnipeg territory at about the 48-yard line. Procedure penalty against Ottawa. 3 minutes and 34 seconds left to play in the ball game. Winnipeg fell behind by 10 points. They just shook that off and came roaring back and have been in complete control since the middle of the second quarter.
Procedure, Ottawa, no end. Second down repeated.
Bombers scored 24 points in that second quarter, and that was the difference in the ball game. They led it at the half 31-13. Second down, about 8 yards to go. And Quarles was hit just as he threw, and threw it to an open area of the field.
Tyrone Jones really came in once again. You see him on your screen, and put the pressure on Bernard Quarles just as he released that football. And of course, the ball going away.
3:15 left to play in the game, and Ottawa will send Ken Clark in the punting unit out onto the field.
There you see Ty Jones. Look how hard he comes to the backside, especially when he knows Quarles can't see him coming. He just accelerates that much harder, gets there to make the hit.
Cal Murphy, in talking about the CFL this year, and we were asking about offenses, everybody
enjoy it. Among many of the features that we'll have for you this afternoon, John Hufnagel in to quarterback the Blue Bombers as Pat Katner carries for Winnipeg to the 30-yard line. He picks up about 7 or 8 yards. Pat's a very handy guy to have on a ball club. He can do a lot of things for you.
Well, especially when he plays the special teams as well as he does. Good backup fullback. John Hufnagel, of course, one of the great relief pitchers in the CFL.
Hasn't had too many occasions to do that this afternoon. Just
great athlete, that Bob Cameron.
Yes,
you know, quarterback at Acadia and great punter as well.
Had to get that one off because there was great pressure. Derek Zeno from Quarles going deep for Dwight Edwards, and it's picked up.
David Shaw once again.
Second one of the ball game for David.
David's getting a workout.
He's had a lot of yards in returns. He returned one of them 107 yards, and then he lugs that one back to about the 33-yard line before Mike Canterbone drops him. It's a return of 18 yards, so he's got 125 yards in interception returns this afternoon.
Yeah, make that his 5th of the season. And can't replace experience back there. And
no, you're right. He's been one of the great ones.
Oh.
You know, you talk about cornerbacks. David Schott, Dickie Harris used to play in Montreal. I mean, 2 of the greatest that ever played in this league.
A lot of people probably forget Dave Shaw was a great kickoff and punt return guy, but now, after his 11th year, you know, let some of the younger guys do it, but he was darn good at it.
This is Pat Katner again. The ball comes loose, but right into James Hood's hands. And Hood carries it an extra few yards up to midfield.
You know, Leach, sometimes they talk about teams such as the Winnipeg Blue Bombers who are playing so well and they're rated so highly. Here they are with a victory this afternoon, moving to within 2 of BC, and a real battle between the 2 of them for top spot in that tough Western Conference. And you wonder if maybe a team such as the Bombers would be inclined to look past its opposition and look at the upcoming 2 games with BC. If they do, they're in trouble because, as we all know, that Montreal club can be very, very tough.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be looking past. You know, they've won a Grey Cup. They're such a veteran team, and they're a very mature football team. And I think they know that they have to take care of the task at hand and then let things fall where they may.
Well, as Cal said, too, we're just trying to improve every game, and I think they are improving. He said we want to peak at the right time, and it certainly seems that they are coming right back to the point where they were last year.
You know, it's interesting, Pat. They got off to a rather struggling start. There's no question about that. In July, they were not playing great football, but, boy, you sure don't want your team to be playing peak football in July here. You want them to start to wind it up from Labor Day in, and they seem to really be doing that.
Well, Willard Reeves is before the game came on and said our offense started slow. It's just getting wound up, and it's going to get better every game from now on, and that'll take us to the Cup, he thinks.
Sure.
Well, this is Sean Keogh. Sean runs it into the Ottawa 47-yard line. He'll have a pickup of about 8 yards before he was upended by Tom Towns, number 20. Nice, comfortable 28-point lead for the Blue Bombers with only 1 minute and 10 seconds left to play. 81 degrees, 100% humidity, one of the most uncomfortable days of the year. Didn't bother the Bombers, though. And again, Keogh, the ball carrier, runs into Michel Bourgeot, number 83.
Pat, you deserve congratulations. You said at the start of the game that Ottawa wouldn't be beat by 43 points again. You're right.
That's right.
What a great prediction.
They've improved by 15 points. They play these guys another couple of times this year. They'll be in good shape.
God, I like his logic.
Well, I don't know. You take it if you like it.
Well, I'm an optimist. That's the way I look at it. If Joe Moss will look at it the same way, they'll be able to finish out this season.
Well, we were listening to a phone show before the game from one of the radio stations, and some of the fans were calling for Joe Moss's scalp.
I vote for let's get out of here.
I do too.
I don't think Quarles will, though.
He gave it to Lester Brown, and Lester was saying, "Why me?"
You were right again. Now, what do you think about next week? We're going to be doing that Friday night game on CTV when Montreal moves into Winnipeg. Who do you like?
Well, you have to like the Blue Bombers because they're playing so well. They're improving every game. And Montreal, like many teams, has had trouble moving the football. I mean, they didn't do it against Hamilton.
They've got a fine defense. Now, if they can only get a little offense going, this could be a whale of a game.
This is Lester Brown again. He gets it out to the 10. And Ottawa won't have to punt. They can run the clock out now unless Winnipeg stops it. If they stop it, I'm going down there to choke somebody. Lester Brown a little slow getting up, but he's all right. Stan Mikowicz is down. But they're saying, look, Stan, just get back on side here and we'll wrap this thing up.
Take it to the barn, as we always said at the end of a game.
Defensive halfback Scott Flagel is the defensive star. Each of today's
And the Grey Cup champions who could move into a first-place tie with BC with a win tonight. Both clubs coming off impressive victories last weekend. On top of that, both of the clubs are using the same lineups they have last week, so there will be no excuses tonight. Now let's go upstairs to Pat Marsden, and with him, Frank Rigney.
Well, thank you very much, Bill. Hello, everybody across Canada. Riggs, this is a big ball game, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch it if Montreal can get their offense in gear.
Well, Pat, I don't think there's any question. We would all agree that the key to that is Turner Gill. He has that great ability to run with the football. More important, I think, in terms of buying him time to throw it than actually taking off running with it. He had an excellent game last week, of course, against...
I heard them so loud in this Winnipeg Stadium where they were introducing the players, you can hardly hear yourself think. Maybe it's going to be that way throughout the game. So, Pat and Frank, I think you've got an interesting and I think a very exciting game to call.
It's funny, we were talking to General Manager Paul Robson. He was saying that he really finds the Winnipeg crowd is becoming like that of Saskatchewan, where they're right into the ball game and they actually become the 13th man on the field. Interesting to note, Riggs, that Montreal is going to kick off with the wind at their back. They'd like to be able to try and contain those Winnipeg Blue Bombers deep in their territory.
Well, Pat, I think Joe Glad feels that he'd like to score early and get ahead of this football club if he can, so they will have a major wind advantage in this first 15 minutes.
So Mike McTagg kicks it away for Montreal, and he sends it deep. This will be Haley from his 2-yard line. He came within an eyelash of just breaking that one as he crossed the 25-yard line. It looked for a moment like he might be able to split the seam, but Montreal, with very good special team performances all season long, were able to down him at the 29-yard line. And so Tom Clements and the Winnipeg Blue Bomber offense comes out onto the field. Clements with a completion record of 58%. He's only thrown 11 touchdowns and had 13 interceptions as we take a look at the receiving corps. So it's first down. Blue Bombers just inside their 30-yard line, and this is Willard Reeves. Willard dances his way to the 33-yard line for a pickup of 5. He's dropped at that point. Montreal with Doug Scott, number 70, making the stop. Line up this way. It's Sandy Armstrong, Brett Williams, and Doug Scott as you look at the offensive line. Those are the people that are going to have to block. Armstrong, Williams, Scott, and Steve Brocky, number 99. They call him the designated pass rusher. This kid gets into that backfield in a hurry. He'll be coming on this play right now. Number 99. Clemens' pass is complete. And Sean Keogh gives Winnipeg the first down of this ball game as he crosses the 40 to the 41-yard line.
Very key first down it was, too, Pat, working against this very difficult breeze here coming out of the south at Winnipeg Stadium. Willard Reeves, with that 5-yard gain, just moved into the lead as the rushing leader in the Canadian Football League. He was only 3 behind Jenkins, Kevion Jenkins of BC. As you take a look at that Montreal defense, the fewest touchdowns given up of any team in the Canadian Football League.
Clemens' pass is caught. And up over the 50 to the 51-yard line is Jerome Erdman, who used to live next door to Frank Rigney. Brett Williams, number 71, the nose guard, was there to bring him down. Erdman is really starting to come into his own. A good little inside receiver.
Interesting, too. He was playing on the other side of the football when these two teams met last time.
makes a good cut to get inside of Vince Faison and pick up what is very close to first down yardage. They've got the ball spotted at the Winnipeg 52-yard line, and it is a first down as signaled by referee Lauren Woods. Now, this is exactly what Montreal didn't want. They didn't want to kick off to the Blue Bombers and have them march against the wind all the way down the field, but Tom Clements is putting together a very impressive drive.
Well, that's one advantage, Pat, as you know, of having two experienced quarterbacks, which Winnipeg, of course, does have. As you look at the linebacking core now, an excellent one for Montreal. Ken Shanconi, you mentioned, Pat, you fellas having his best year ever.
Boy, he has played well. Clements is dropped by Doug Scott. Scott was in the Winnipeg offensive backfield before Clements had a chance to set up. And as a result, Winnipeg is forced back to their 45-yard line, a loss of 7 yards.
Scott putting that pressure on from his left defensive end spot. He had 6.5 sacks coming into tonight's ball game, so 1 more for his total.
The Boise State grad, who is a native Montrealer and really has been one of the outstanding players to play in Canada at his position. Oh, there was movement all over. Clements again was sacked once again by Doug Scott, and I would think that it'll be a procedure penalty against Winnipeg because there was no question that Chris Balby pulled up and was on his way long before the ball was snapped, number 63.
Balby, the right tackle. I think Lyle Bauer also moved, Pat.
I think they all did.
I think obviously Scott will get his second sack of this ball game. They will refuse the penalty.
Procedure. Winnipeg 59. Declined.
Bauer,
third down.
Guilty party named by Lauren Woods in any event. So we'll see Bob Cameron come out for his first punting attempt. There's just 2 minutes and 45 seconds gone in this ball game. No score.
Montreal sends back 3 punt returners. They know the wind is going to be very tricky. So they've got Harry Skipper back with Phil Jones and Preston Young. Cameron is an amazing punter. He gets it away to Young at the 32. And Preston Young does a good job to get the ball over the 40 to the 43-yard line. And that's where Turner Gill and the Montreal offense is going to take over for their first possession of the game after a 41-yard boot into a very tough freeze by Bob Cameron and a 12-yard return by Preston Young.
Pat, by no means do I think Bob Cameron is the best kicker in the league, but he may be the best kicker against the wind. We'll see that all night long.
Now there's the receiving corps for Montreal. Their problem has been not being able to get the ball to their outside receivers. And Turner Gill is sacked by number 55, Tony Norman, a fellow that Riggs mentioned off the top of the show as somebody Montreal had to keep out of that offensive backfield.
Pat, they did exactly what we talked about. They kept the containment to the outside, and then Tony Norman, number 55, beat big Miles Gurrell, the 285-pound left tackle. Watch Norman's quickness. Miles tries to go down on him. Norman just ignores him completely. And the first sack of the ball game now for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
And the loss was 13 yards, so it's 2nd and 23, Montreal at their 31.
Here they come.
You see, they'll do that all night to Turner Gill. They know that if you get into his face, there's no way that he can be as effective as he would like. That was Frank Robinson.
Pat, I'll tell you what they did. They just outmanned the Montreal Concord. They had too many people coming. Look at all of the blitzing linebackers and defensive backs coming there. Robinson comes from right here and has absolutely no one touches him. He's right on the young Montreal quarterback. Boom. A loss of 18 yards in the first 2 offensive plays for the Concord, and now they kick it away.
So Mike McTagg punts with the wind, and he gets a good one away. And the Blue Bombers are going to
Make everybody say that I'm a liar. The guy's going around with just a jacket on and pretending it's summer out here. Let me tell you, it's a lot cooler than Joe Galat looks going around like he's dressed up for a party.
Well, Joe knows this. It's not going to be a party here tonight because these two defenses
He'll be keeping warm on his own.
Yeah. All right, here's the reverse to Jeff Boyd. Speed galore. Boyd has a first down. And he's into Montreal territory at the 52-yard line before Ali Weatherspoon, number 52, in there replacing the injured John Pointer, makes the stop. But the pickup is 14 yards.
Pat, look at this formation. A quadruple set to the right-hand side, and Boyd goes back against the flow for the first time I've seen that play used by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Boyd, of course, has a 105-yard pass reception from Tom Clements, the longest of the year. Got the great speed. You know, you look at this ball club statistically, Pat, and one of the things that really impresses you, Boyd has only had 34 receptions throughout the year, but isn't by 4 points.
You know, this Winnipeg Blue Bomber squad has already showed how powerful their linebackers are. But Aaron Brown, one of the stars of the Grey Cup champion squad, who went down to try out in the NFL, wants to come back to the team, and the Bombers have told Aaron that if he wants to come back, fine, but he's on his own to see if he can make it. So strength added upon strength could be the case for the Bomber defense.
I think Delbert Fowler finds himself in the same situation, Bill, because if he comes back, that's fine, but he's got to make the ball club. And I'll tell you, they're playing so well right now, I don't know how anybody can be dislodged. However, the Blue Bombers have a first down thanks to Jeff Boyd at the Montreal 52-yard line. The give is to Willard Reeves, and Reeves was hit initially by number 42, Paul Gray, the inside linebacker, and he was able to contain him to a pickup of about 2. John Bonk, the veteran center, number 43, and Chris Walby. They do have a very experienced offensive line, Winnipeg. They average 7 years experience, and they're a good size. They average 6'4", 250 pounds. So let's watch Tom Clements on 2nd and 8 from the Montreal 50. Clements' pass over the middle is incomplete, intending it for Randy Faby, number 72. He couldn't hang on.
In fact, the ball was thrown a bit behind him, Pat, but very catchable football. Winnipeg certainly would dearly love to have kept this drive alive, working against this very strong breeze. Maybe the ball was tipped just in front of the intended receiver, Faby. So Cameron will try to kick it away once again.
And Montreal again drops 3 men back. Cameron kicking into this very stiff breeze. This one hangs up. Preston Young on the run, takes it at the 19, and he's snowed under as he crosses the 20 to about the 21-yard line. So now it's going to be interesting to see what Montreal does to counter the tremendous pressure that Turner Gill faced in his first 2 offensive plays.
Well, I'm sure Joe has been talking to his offensive ball club. I think Turner's going to have to sprint out of there a little more, Pat. He can't hang back in the middle there because Winnipeg will blitz him to death if he does.
I almost think he might be wise as we take a look that tomorrow Ottawa plays in Calgary, and the people in Ottawa will see that game. So will those in Montreal. It's exactly what Riggs was talking about. He's got to make sure that those, when he gets the pressure from the outside, that he can take it off himself up the middle, which he did. And sometimes the quarterback draw, although that was not intended to be, is an effective play to counter that. He picks up 8 yards, so that's a very effective first down play for the Concords. Ball is at the Montreal 30-yard line, 2nd and 2. They give it inside to Dwayne Wilson, and Wilson has the first down to the 35-yard line. That's the first down of the ball game for Montreal. Stan Mikowas, number 75, the nose guard, along with Tony Norman, 55, were there to bring him down. Bill?
Jeff Boyd is on the sidelines with a nice